Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Smart Spaces. This conference series focuses in on the MDU space, taking a look at apartments, hospitality, and community living. The focus of today's event is the hospitality market, where we're going to examine the role of technology in providing new value to hotels and to guests. As a reminder, this series of virtual events is also available on demand after the event, so feel free to re-listen. Before we get started, a quick introduction. If you haven't met me before, I'm Kristen Hannick, Research Director here at Parks Associates. I lead our coverage of connectivity, including the larger trends taking place in MDUs, hospitality, and other markets. In terms of the agenda for today's event, I'm going to be opening it up with a presentation of some of Parks Associates' research in this area in partnership with DirecTV. This will be followed by our visionary spotlight, Kimberly Twiggs, AVP of Hospitality at DirecTV, and then our panel discussion on the topic of personalized experiences for guests. The panel discussion featuring Robert Gross of Worldview, Michelle Gus of Crestron Electronics, Adam Hepworth of Groove MDU Technologies, Dominic Locasio of Piaggio Fast Forward, and Kevin Sweeney of Ensio will examine how different technology solutions, including across the field of entertainment, IoT, robotics, and more, are impacting the guest experience today. And how we see these solutions really impacting the hotel experience of the future. And also, a special thank you to our sponsors for helping to make Smart Spaces possible. A special thanks to our Platinum sponsors, ADT Multifamily, Arise, Cox Communities, the Connectivity Standards Alliance, NICE, and Rapid Response Monitoring. To our research sponsors, Nimbio and Vantiva. To our event sponsors, Calix, Cooktop Safety, and EV Passport. And to our other sponsors as well, including Homebase, Xfinity Communities, Blink, Aquana, 11 Software, and LiftMaster. And yes, as I mentioned before, I'm going to share some of the results of a few different studies we've done, both this year and in prior years, including research that we did in the first quarter of 2023 in partnership with DirecTV, really directly examining the hospitality market and the topic of entertainment. I'm also going to be taking a look at some of the trends underway in multifamily housing and the implications this has for the hospitality market, drawing on research such as our recently published IoT and automation in multifamily housing report, our smart apartments connectivity and services and MDU report, as well as our past study where we surveyed MDU property managers on their deployments and plans, really digging into how they were approaching this topic of operational technologies and technology platforms. The hospitality market is really increasingly incorporating new technologies into its operations and to guest experiences. When used for guest experiences, technology is a key differentiator between hotels and between brands, helping companies to really meet guests' expectations, as well as enabling new experiences. The role of technology in hospitality and in the larger MDU market has changed over the past 3 to 4 years, alongside larger shifts in consumers' travel habits and overall technology use. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw some major changes. Consumers had to put off doing things that they really wanted to do for several years. Time they spent engaging with new technology and with new app-based experiences. We also saw during this time increased interest in contact-free and digital experiences across all sorts of industries, including multifamily housing, self-storage market, restaurant ordering and delivery, and so on. There is a greater expectation among consumers today and among hotel guests for digital experiences. Looking at the entertainment space, we also saw a big increase in streamed video content, with consumers streaming more video than ever before. Speaking to the first point, delayed travel plans and pent-up demand, as of this year, we've seen hotel occupancy rates largely recover to 2019 levels. On a wider population level, some 2/3 of U.S. internet households report staying in a hotel in the past 12 months, and almost 3/4 report staying somewhere in the past 2 years. Drilling into why these folks are traveling, we see that these guests are staying primarily for personal reasons, vacation and leisure travel, visiting family members and friends. Fewer folks are doing business travel than in prior years, with a larger percentage of companies relying on remote tools and platforms for meetings and events, like this one today. So people are traveling for different reasons than they've been traveling in the past, with new hot markets across different geographies. Digging into the technology side, we've seen a number of trends impact consumers. There's been a big increase in smart devices in consumer homes, at workplaces, and even vehicles are now internet connected. Most consumers, for instance, now own and use a connected TV, most commonly a smart TV. Streaming and video services are commonplace, with 87% of US internet households reporting subscribing to at least one. Hybrid and remote work have become the new norms for many people, allowing them far greater flexibility and freedom when it comes to the workday. What all of this needs, of course, is networking and connectivity. Internet connectivity is key when it comes to deploying and using many of these new technologies inside of smart spaces, whether that's hotels in the hospitality market, apartments and the MDU space, student or senior housing, or other markets including, again, self-storage, restaurants, or any of the thousands of types of businesses turning to operational technology solutions today. Within this space, we see managed Wi-Fi as an emerging trend, particularly the emergence of solutions such as virtual LANs that allow for network segregation, greater levels of security, and increasingly the ability to roam seamlessly while still being connected to the same network. The next evolution of converged networks. Within hospitality, we see this impacting guest connectivity, where guests see Wi-Fi and internet access as a very much in-demand amenity, vital for their entertainment, and oftentimes for work as well. We also see it as vital for staff connectivity and operational improvements, as well as supporting IoT devices and their growing number of use cases. Applications, of course, drive network requirements, and consumers are increasingly doing all sorts of activities simultaneously, creating environments where multiple ultra-high definition video streams may be taking place at the same time, all while different household members are gaming or even video conferencing. This is especially true in circumstances where families are traveling, which is oftentimes the case for leisure travel. Looking at what consumers and hotel guests expect, something that we've seen in our research here at Parks Associates, and what we've heard again and again from industry leaders, is that people's expectations have been evolving. Consumers nowadays are digital first and mobile first. They want to be able to use mobile apps to get information and perform tasks and expect things to just work. They're also interested in different options and having experiences that they can customize and tailor to their liking. The next phase of this is personalization, a solution that works for them, without them needing to take the time to dig in and customize everything to their liking. Honing in on what this means for entertainment and hospitality, we're left with the following questions. How are guests watching video in their rooms today? How do they want to watch video? And what does personalization in entertainment really mean? To answer the first question, we asked people, on your last hotel visit, how did you watch video on your hotel's TV? 80% of our respondents, those who stayed at a hotel within the past 2 years, reported watching video on a hotel room TV. The vast majority of those who do watch on their hotel room are watching the live pay TV channels provided by the hotel. The next most common way of watching video on hotel TVs are actually using a different device, but connecting it to that TV, whether that's by casting it through some sort of a cast technology or actually plugging it in. Slightly less frequently, we see people using streaming apps, either apps that they log into or apps that they don't need to log into that are just offered by the hotel. And this pattern largely holds regardless of whether or not a person subscribes to pay TV at home. Actually, pay TV subscribers are more likely to watch TV in their hotel room in general by any tested method compared to non-subscribers. This is actually a pretty big difference compared to what we see people doing in their own homes. When we ask consumers what they turn to first to watch content, they're generally looking to streaming services. Pay TV comes in at a distant second. And it's not very common that a person's first choice is casting video from a smartphone or a laptop to a TV. So why is this? Why is this experience so different in hotels? What do people actually want? Well, people want options and options that suit them. When we asked our survey respondents what they were looking for in hotel video, we found that they wanted convenience, the ability to easily find the content they're interested in without having to know which specific service it's in, the ability to access the apps they use at home in a frictionless or low-friction way. A meaningfully large percent are also interested in paying to access more content they might not necessarily have at home. So what is personalization and entertainment? It means that guests see the content they want to watch, that they have access to the apps and experiences that they have at home, while also having new offerings beyond the usual, in the topics and genres that matter to them, and in a format where content discovery is easy. So thank you everyone for joining us here today. It is my pleasure to tee up our next conversation, our Visionary Spotlight with Kimberly Twiggs at DirecTV. Please join me in just a few minutes while we get that set up.
Hi there, I'm Jennifer Kent, Vice President of Research with Parks Associates. Just want to say a quick thank you to Kristen for setting up the topic for today and sharing some of that research. Truly, there's so much happening in technology and entertainment, not just in residential, not just in multifamily, but certainly in hospitality as well. And so I'm so pleased to invite today as our Visionary Spotlight speaker, Kimberly Twiggs, who's the Assistant Vice President of DirecTV. She manages the company's hospitality and institutions business unit, which includes creating and implementing strategies that support the sale of DirecTV free-to-guest programming and products to hotels, to hospitals, to senior living facilities and universities. Kim has also managed DirecTV's MDU business in the past. So without further ado, I'm so pleased to invite Kim to share a perspective from DirecTV.
Welcome to We Need to Talk. I'm Tina Servasi.
I wish I were surrounded by farm animals. Run!
Hi there, I'm Kim Twiggs. Thanks, Jennifer, for that great introduction. Associate Vice President of Sales for DirecTV Hospitality. I have been at DirecTV for 17 years in both hospitality and MDU. So thank you so much for having me here today. I have witnessed and been part of unbelievable change in our industry and in entertainment technology in my time at DirecTV, from being first to market all those years ago with HD content way back in 2007 to the entertainment content and sports super aggregation that DirecTV is delivering today. We have always strived to deliver the best entertainment experience to our customers. So if we go to the next slide, I love this quote. We aren't in an information age, we are in an entertainment age. While we've had unprecedented access to knowledge and data, the primary driver shaping our culture and societal dynamics is this pursuit of entertainment and the desire for captivating experiences. Entertainment is pervasive and it's an influential force in our lives. It not only provides amusement, but it also plays a significant role in shaping society. Movies, television shows, they reflect societal values. They address important social issues and they influence public opinion. And now this concept of entertainment has reached unprecedented levels of impact with the advent of streaming services, social media platforms, online content creators. Content consumption is ubiquitous and it provides a lens through which we experience the world. One of the best ways that we determine what it means to be best in class at DirecTV as an entertainment provider is by frequently refreshing our research and seeking out new data points to better understand where the market is going and where the consumer behavior or hotel guest behavior is heading. So let's go to the next slide. Through our partnership with Hub Entertainment Research, we know that the average household uses 12.5 different sources of entertainment. And among those 12.5 sources of entertainment, only half are video. Video would be SVODs, MVPD, VMVPD subscriptions, free streaming, and TV services. But about a third of those 12.5 are social media, gaming, and the remainder are streaming music services, podcasts, audiobooks, and the like. Young consumers under 35 years old use even more forms of entertainment, 15.5 sources of entertainment per household. Gen Zers use about a 50-50 split, so 50% social media and gaming, and then 50% video sources. But with Gen Z, the number of different video sources being used is even higher than the number being used by our average households. If we go to the next slide and dig in deeper, I love this particular question from the research that asks viewers, how do you divide up your leisure time across different entertainment activities from all sources and across all screens? So age 35 and over viewers spend 43% of their time watching TV. That includes watching TV shows, other TV content like scripted programming, news, sports, performances, things like that. And then you can see Gen Z viewers only spend 17% of their time on the same. So this doesn't mean Gen Z values the TV content any less. Of what they want to watch, they still actually spend 16 and a half hours per week watching it on TV. But the other entertainment they value is on and divided among all of these other sources. And there's only so many hours in the day. So we see how this finite amount of time for entertainment is divided up differently by generation. So let's go to the next slide. I think it's interesting to understand the psychology behind why viewers are consuming the entertainment content they're consuming. According to the data, TV shows broadcast on satellite or cable, as you can see in this middle column, as well as content on Netflix, are primarily seen as an escape. Influencers and YouTube are used to kill time or get useful information. And if you've always been wondering what is the key to TikTok's success, it's the only platform where social connection finishes near the top. As you'd probably guess, Gen Z spends significantly more time on TikTok than their 35 and over counterparts. 54% of Gen Zers say they spend a little to a lot more time on TikTok than they do on YouTube, whereas 73% of non-Gen Zers said they would choose YouTube over TikTok if they could only have one. But both generational cohorts agree that YouTube is better for learning or for other topics where your full attention is required. Generally speaking, I just think this helps us to understand the requirements of our prospective audiences and what needs they're trying to meet with the entertainment options they have at their disposal. So on the next slide, you'll see when it comes to entertainment being watched exclusively on the TV, we know from our hub research that nearly 7 in 10 consumers, 68%, rely on both traditional and streaming sources of TV content. Only 22% are using streaming sources exclusively at home, but that proportion has been climbing slowly and steadily with at-home viewers. Now, from the research in our partnership with Parks and Associates that Kristen mentioned, we know that it's a different story in hotels. The majority of hotel viewers watch live TV that's provided by the hotel. Only 16% are logging into their streaming services, and 14% are reporting using a streaming service provided by the hotel that doesn't require login credentials. This would indicate that either consuming streaming content for entertainment isn't as much of a priority when traveling as it is at home, which we don't believe to be true, or that the process of signing into services or casting to the screen is still too onerous, or more likely, that this solution is still mostly unavailable in most hotels. This is the biggest opportunity in front of entertainment providers and hoteliers to prioritize guest room entertainment solution upgrades in all hotels and to ensure that streaming content options that are available through these kinds of upgraded solutions are easy to find, intuitive to use, and working properly 100% of the time. When we ask hotel guests, what would you like to do in a hotel room but currently can't do or can't do often enough? Their top 2 answers were watch a favorite TV channel or watch a favorite streaming video service. These significantly outweighed the other options like temperature and lighting room controls or voice control. So in the age of entertainment, when you're considering guest satisfaction levers, the most effective use of technology capital and resources right now is to ensure that the guest room entertainment solution that you have delivers the best of both live TV and streaming content options. So if we take a look at the next slide, you'll see that of the big 5 streaming services, 80% of at-home viewers have at least one of these big 5: Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, Max, Disney+. 45% are using 3 or more of the big 5 at home. And this is 4 times more than when we measured this data in 2018. In hotels, according to the Parks data, these are also the top 5 most desired streaming applications guests would want to see on the hotel TV. Demographically speaking, in hotels, Netflix is far and away the most desired service, regardless of if a prospective guest has children or not. But those who are parents have a greater need for Disney+. Gen Z are less interested in Amazon Prime Video, but they show a really strong emphasis on Hulu and Disney Plus. Prime appeals mostly to those over 35 years old. According to the research, interest in streaming apps on the hotel TV starts on a general decline as age increases over 45, and then we see a correlating increase in live TV interest in the 45, 55, and 65-year-old cohorts. Another interesting data point here is that when deciding to watch television, most home viewers are now first navigating to a paid streaming service, and that's a significant change from 2019 when live TV was the default source or the first entertainment destination that people went to when turning on the TV. So in aggregate, these big five are already used more often as the default than live TV. And in fact, within the next couple of years, Netflix will likely single-handedly be used as the #1 default source when turning on the TV, finally outpacing live TV as the single primary default. So this again reinforces the importance of ensuring that hotels are being upgraded with guest room entertainment solutions that include streaming services, and most importantly, these five. Guests crave consistency and novelty equally. So streaming paired with the live TV already in hotel rooms complements their desires for entertainment while on the road. And access to streaming directly correlates to guest satisfaction growth, because when you're providing access to this SVOD content that they like to watch at home in the hotel room, that not only increases flexibility, but it also increases personalization, both of which all guests desire. So while we're on this topic, let's go to the next slide. I want to spend some time quickly on 3 specific cohorts of hotel guests that we've tested for: business travelers, leisure travelers, and digital nomads. All hotel guests that prioritize connectivity and entertainment versatility way more than other travelers do. So as mentioned, both personal as well as business travelers are primarily watching the live TV channels provided by the hotel. But more business travelers say they cast content to the hotel TV or use a streaming app. 84% of business travelers say they would choose a hotel over another one if it offered access to local, live, and streaming video services. And then 68% of business travelers actually said they would pay more to stay at a hotel that had these video services. So from an industry perspective, while it's estimated that domestic business travel won't recover to 2019 levels until at least 2024, there's still more business travel happening now than there was in 2020 or 2021. Team travel, which is where multiple employees on the same team are meeting up for an offsite or an event, that's up more than 900% between January and May, according to Trip Actions, which also reports that the number of travelers per company is increasing. Business travelers are a really important segment of the market, and they over-index on all of these technology preferences. If we look at the second cohort, leisure travel, I know that's not everyone's favorite word, is the blurring of business and leisure trips, with a reported 37% of corporate travelers from North America extending their business trips for leisure activities in 2021. And then a 2023 report from Hilton found that this figure had increased to 40% of business travelers extending for leisure. So this is clearly showing leisure travel continues to increase coming out of the pandemic. Leisure travel is currently a $315 billion industry, and it's estimated to reach $731 billion, so more than doubling in size by 2032. Digital nomads, this third category, are remote workers who use their job flexibility to work while traveling. These travelers blend travel into their daily working lives. They often frequent hotels, short-term rentals, co-working spaces, recreational vehicles to enhance their travel experience. Leisure travelers and digital nomads are much more active on the road than other guests. Both of these groups stay roughly 50% more nights than other hotel guests, according to our research. And these groups also tend to be younger and more ethnically diverse while representing a larger market share. They have access to more platforms. They use more diverse kinds of content. Hotels that want to appeal to younger travelers really have an opportunity here to make connectivity and entertainment versatility a part of their messaging, especially if they want to stand out from other properties that haven't yet made that distinction. So as it pertains specifically to streaming video services in this cohort, the ability to watch personal SVOD content positively impacted bleisure and digital nomad satisfaction scores 60 and 64% of the time, respectively. These two groups rely heavily on time-shifted content. So bringing apps, on demand, casting into the room for the entertainment experience is imperative for these travelers. Connectivity is at the foundation of meeting these particular guest needs, whether that's for entertainment consumption or for other purposes. In-room entertainment and Wi-Fi connectivity really go hand in hand. And this is especially true for these travelers, especially for digital nomads who are performing their occupation entirely over the internet while they're traveling. As far as connectivity goes, our research shows 79% of guests say the in-room Wi-Fi speeds that they have when they travel are meeting their needs. But that means 1 in 5 guests aren't getting their Wi-Fi needs met. App-based and on-demand content rely exclusively on strong broadband. So if this doesn't operate seamlessly to allow guests to easily access their content, it could significantly impact the guest experience. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see that inconsistent and unreliable connectivity isn't the only pain point or concern that hoteliers should be paying attention to today. So short of content super aggregation platforms like DirecTV's consumer product and others, which we aren't yet seeing in the hotel space, smart TVs are actually addressing a major frustration: discovery. More than half of the at-home viewers in the Hub research say that the volume of shows available today make it really hard to even know where to begin. So currently there are 354 standalone over-the-top streaming and video services available in the market today. And that's up from 315 in 2019. And then in 2022, there were 599 original series launched: scripted dramas, comedies, limited TV shows. And that 599 was up from 496 in 2018 and 349 in 2013. So hundreds more shows being created and put out into the market, which is creating a really great thing, but also confusion. So the continued proliferation of this new content just for TV alone is staggering. And now more people own smart TVs and are using the smart capabilities more, which includes a universal listing to search all of their platforms for a single piece of content in one place, really alleviating these concerns about too much content and not knowing where to go to get it. 71% of hotel guests surveyed by Parks who watched video at a hotel in the past 12 months said that universal search would definitely be appealing for the next time that they stayed in a hotel. While we're on this topic of all these sources and all these new titles, let's go to the next slide, and I'll share a couple thoughts on super aggregation, content discovery, specifically when it comes to sports. So sports continues to be one of those areas where we're seeing increased viewer frustration as leagues and games migrate to various disaggregated streaming services. This is an area where DirecTV for Business is even better positioned than residential services to deliver all of the sports content to commercial customers. So hotel guest rooms, lobby bars, fitness centers, restaurants, sports bars. So for tonight, whether you're a Bears fan or a Washington Commanders fan, you can catch the Thursday night football game through your current DirecTV commercial account that is going to be on Amazon Prime Video. And then every Sunday in our hotels and bars, you can still watch all the NFL games on DirecTV with NFL Sunday Ticket through Everpass Media. Also, you can see we just launched Willow TV, the premier broadcaster of cricket in the US, this week in DirecTV for Business. And there's going to be much more to come. DirecTV for Business is the industry leader in sports for hospitality. And so many, many more big announcements coming along that side. So that little commercial break on DirecTV was brought to you by Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, the man who apparently gained over 860,000 Instagram followers this past week. That was more than 2023's top 100 NFL players combined. And he got more TikTok and X followers. And Taylor, she got credit, I think, for Patrick Mahomes' 2 interceptions, but also for delivering a total audience of 24.3 million viewers for the game, which scored the highest of all games among females 12 to 49. Anyway, Travis Kelce is actually DirecTV's overly direct sports person in our new advertising campaign. He's pretty hilarious. But I think this just proves that having Taylor Swift as your hype woman is really the equivalent of having like 10 DirecTVs as your hype person. So I know I'm coming up on my time. I don't want to run long. So let's go to the final slide. I'll conclude with this. In recent years, we have certainly seen a significant surge in the integration of technology into hotels, and it's transforming traditional hospitality experiences. Hotels have been doing a great job of embracing a broad range of solutions to enhance guest convenience, streamline operations, deliver a more immersive and personalized stay. So hopefully I've provided you with some information and data that demonstrate that upgraded guest entertainment options are available to drive new value propositions, and guests are actually ready to have their in-room entertainment experience transformed. So whether we're using entertainment to provide an escape or just a time filler or even important information, DirecTV is really grateful to be on this journey with you and all hotel guests. Hoteliers should look to provide guests with personalized entertainment options, flexible in-room entertainment. Guests crave that, the choice of either watching live TV or having the option to stream their own content, because it allows them to conduct their stay on their terms. It's personalized, it's choice-driven, it creates a home-like environment in the guest space. So making an investment in technology to help drive operational efficiencies and guest satisfaction isn't only a good idea, it's an investment in a hotel's longevity. And as the types of entertainment options available to consumers continue to grow and diversify, using that hotel TV as a hub and as a centralized guest engagement tool in the room, that remains a very, very solid approach. And that's what I've got, Jennifer.
Kim, wonderful. You know, the last time I was in a hotel, which was quite recently, the thing I watched was Thursday Night Football. It wasn't a Chiefs game, it was an Eagles game, but absolutely, it's incredible, you know, to be able to access your sports wherever you are and whatever team that you want to watch. So I love that you shared that detail. Also, my researcher heart loves all of the data that you just shared in your presentation. So thanks for sharing all of that. One thing that stuck out with me, you were talking about the digital nomads and how, in particular, they really value having that personal SVOD content. You sort of ended there also talking about more personalization and more personalized experience in hospitality. Maybe you could share more about how things have really changed and become more personal. Certainly, I'm noticing when I stay at hotels, you know, my name being right up on the screen, and you know, where do you see personalization of choices in the experience and hospitality evolving to?
Yeah, so I think we really believe that, you know, allowing the guests to conduct their stay on their own terms is the first and best step from a personalization perspective. So really making sure that entertainment solution is going to deliver both live TV solutions and also streaming content. Everybody's entertainment preferences are so varied. So as a hotelier, I get it. It's not easy with, you know, over 600 shows across 400 applications. It's, you know, hard to know exactly where to start, but the more variety that can be put there into the room to create personalization is going to be the very first step. To your point, so many of the solutions available today also allow that customization with the name and a welcome message for the guest, and then the weather and the date, and just giving access kind of to a dashboard for that guest to be able to see, you know, everything as it pertains to them. The ability for hotels to customize their own property level information and promote amenities to guests, like, you know, whether they have an on-site fitness center or restaurants or bars, all of that really is giving the guests sort of capability to do things on their own and craft their own personalized stay while they're there. Wellness content on the screens is another area where we're seeing personalization come in. And so that way, if a guest is interested in yoga or meditation, or any kind of fitness there in the room, they're able to access that as well, straight through the TV as a hub. I think one other thing I'd touch on here is we also saw during the pandemic that contactless experiences became very important to guests in personalizing their stay, and making sure they were able to conduct their stay on their terms. And that really feels like it's here to stay. So guests wanting to interact with hotel staff either through the brand or the hotel's app, and then also through the TV to get to their contactless experiences is also a really great way to personalize, customize, and have flexible solutions for guests when they're in the room.
Yeah, and part of that contactless experience too is how you maybe move around the space, which speaks a little bit to maybe the desire and the need really to have reliable connectivity infrastructure throughout the entire property, and then also integrations with access control, et cetera. You know, we do see hospitality getting smarter with more advanced features for entertainment, but then also controls in the environment, and again, how you move across the space. Can you share a little about how you see sort of a smarter entertainment platform fitting in with smarter hospitality properties generally?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought up sort of the in-room controls, lighting and voice control. We've definitely been testing for that in our research. And, you know, we do see some interest in it, but again, it's not as much as guests wanting more control over the entertainment and integration with the entertainment solution. So we do see smart technology and connectivity really driving some of this behavior with guests wanting to be able to watch content, TV content, live TV content, for instance, anywhere on the property. So being able to take your cell phone or your iPad down to the pool and watch games on a Sunday while your kids are playing at the pool. So making sure we're using smart technology to integrate that kind of on-property streaming capability for any of the entertainment options they have. That's definitely one place where we're seeing entertainment take advantage of new smart technology. A second place would be casting, which is not new, but is starting to get to really take off more, and we're seeing guests become more comfortable with it. So I think another gift, I guess, of the pandemic was getting used to QR codes. So now, you know, it was like even our older generations, and we talked a lot about that and how we slice and dice our data in the slides. But, you know, having to go to restaurants and scan a QR code to access a menu, that really got everybody up to speed on how to use QR codes and made everyone more comfortable. And so now in the room, when you have the ability to connect your phone to the TV, to use it as a remote, to be able to engage and interact and make selections through your phone, that casting capability, which is enabled through QR code, is being used much more often now. So cast through a QR code pairing, or log into your Netflix subscription through QR code pairing instead of having to type your username, credential, and your password into a screen. It's much easier with QR code pairing now. So I think that's another place where we're definitely seeing kind of that smart room technology take off. And we're seeing guests really latch on to this using their mobile device more, whether it's, again, through the app, through the brand or hotel app, or to use it as a connection device with the TV.
Yeah, as with all technology, really, it needs to be so simple and easy, especially then in a hospitality environment, because you're only going to invest an amount of time to learn a new process or something. If, you know, you might be there for a very short stay. And so a QR code or using the app, right, something that's very, very, very simple, I think is much more likely to drive engagement with these technologies.
Yeah.
So we just have about one more minute, and I want to check. So I do think we had a couple of questions from the audience come in. So one of the questions is, do guests want to use the remote in the room? So about user interfaces, or do they want to use their own device, a mobile phone or an iPad? So you talked a little bit about casting, of course, and you're integrating with both. You're using, you know, to an extent, your mobile device as the remote control. But any insights that you have on that user interface and usage of remote controls in the room?
Yeah, so I think that this is a great question, and similar to sort of what the research is showing from a live TV perspective is guests are still using what they're familiar with. And so they're using the remote control overwhelmingly the majority of the time, but we're starting to see guests make the connection between integrating their mobile device with the TV, and they're starting to interact that way a lot more. So I would say the simple answer to the question is overwhelmingly they're using the remote in the room to control and access the TV in the same way that they're accessing live TV more right now than they are the streaming services. But I would say as these technologies and solutions become more prevalent throughout the industry, across all pricing segments and across all geographies, you're going to start to see the guests behave more in the hotel room like they do at home, where they're really relying on their connected devices in order to navigate around. So again, whether that's using the mobile device to pair and then cast, or using the mobile device to as a remote control, which is certainly a technology that exists, we're going to start to see guests get more and more comfortable with that.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking that question. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much for sharing your insights and your deep experience in this sector with our audience today.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And give us just a minute and we will be back with Kristen Hennick and the full panel to talk about more personalized experiences and technology in hospitality.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our panel discussion, really taking a look at what personalized experiences for guests mean in this realm of hospitality. It is my pleasure to introduce our wonderful and excellent lineup of panelists here today, including Robert Gross of Worldview, Michelle Gus of Crestron Electronics, Adam Hepworth with Groove and Deliconnect, Dominic Locasio with Piaggio Fast Forward, and Kevin Sweeney of Inseo. Let's start off. Robert Gross, President and Chief Operating Officer of Worldview. I'm very happy to have you here with us today. Can you maybe take a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and about the work you do?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, and thanks for hosting this. I've been in the prop tech space for almost 30 years now, starting off as one of the early adopters at Equity Residential, and then moving into the vendor supplier space, and had stints with Dish Network, and now am at Worldview, formerly World Cinema. So Worldview has been around for almost 50 years. We serve 7,000 hotel properties, which represent about 900,000 rooms, a little bit over 900,000 rooms. And we operate 9 global offices across, I believe, 5 continents. We're focused on providing technology services, converged networks, Wi-Fi, and in-room entertainment to the hotel space. Over half of our employee base is focused on customer-facing, customer support, and project management and deployment. So we're very active in the space, and looking forward to participating in this panel. The topic is very relevant to what we do, and we think very important for the future of hospitality and guest experiences. So thanks very much.
We're very happy to have you here with us today, Robert, and certainly looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And Worldview, of course, has this very wide footprint and I think a very holistic view of everything going on in the market.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Michelle Gus, Vice President of Hospitality at Crestron Electronics. Michelle, can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and about Crestron?
Absolutely. First off, thank you so much for having me on the panel today. It's great to be among these wonderful representatives from other companies here to talk about the hospitality industry and the personalization trends that are really driving hospitality and the technology that we find in our hotels. So I am the Vice President of Hospitality for Crestron. I've been with the company for over 15 years. We are a global company, and Crestron itself has been around for over 50 years. And historically, we've been in hospitality projects for many of those years, but I will say that this is a new effort for us to have a focused team on the hospitality vertical. And really, we decided to do that because we found that we can add value in every space of the hotel. And as you can see here depicted on the slide, Crestron provides technology solutions for every single space in the hotel, from the guest rooms to all of the public spaces, amenity spaces, conference and meeting rooms, and then even those beautiful penthouses that we all see. So providing smart technology in all of these spaces is really where we shine, and having a holistic approach that creates the absolute best experience for the guest and also for the hotel operator. So some great information for the hoteliers on the call as well.
Yes, and we're very happy to have you here with us today, Michelle, and looking forward certainly to hear more about Crestron's view of the market. And really, there's just massive transformation taking place right now with IoT and automation and other smart technologies. Okay, next up, we have Adam Hepworth, President of Groove and Della Connect. Adam, could you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and about Della?
Sure, absolutely. Adam Hepworth. I've been in the smart building industry since 1999, and that's long before the smartphones and all the other luxuries that we have today. But I guess doing the right thing at the wrong time gave me the experience of really learning a lot of how all of this technology that we now use today came from where it was to what it is today. So with that, I've been in a number of different positions: founding partner at Celexica, Connectrix, CityLink, and Della, and also part of Groove. So just a little bit on Groove. Groove is a technology partner, and call it a wisdom coach, if you will, within the property solutions arena. So from hospitality to multi-dwelling units, we're dedicated to enhancing the experience for everybody who's going through this journey. Obviously, it's a very complicated journey, but because of our multifaceted approach to the marketplace, whether it be TV services, internet, phone systems, streaming, casting, video surveillance, any of those different bits and pieces that make up the technical infrastructure we're building, we can actually see where the technology overlap is and really address all the pain points that are in the industry because of our vast amount of sort of experience and tenure in this market. So I'm leading that initiative in some regards. And then as it relates to Della, there's a lot of technology that doesn't necessarily exist in the marketplace yet, because all of the nuances of technology and how they're coming together are moving at a really rapid rate all over the place. So we're putting together a variety of different things in order to support the industry.
Yes, and certainly integration and best practices are always moving targets and complex to tackle. But yeah. I'm very happy to have you here with us today, Adam, and certainly looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, and next we have Dominic Locascio, Senior Director of Hospitality at Piaggio Fast Forward. And Dominic, I do hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kristen. And welcome, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. So I'm with Piaggio Fast Forward. If you guys are not familiar with Piaggio, we're 1 year away from celebrating 140 years as a company that has always specialized in the mobility space. So if you know Vespa scooters or Moto Guzzi, those are our brands. And Piaggio Fast Forward is the group within that brand that focuses on innovation. So we are specifically focused on robotics and how robots can enhance and improve mobility for people in the built human space. So a lot more about actually robots working with people rather than robots replacing people and enhancing their lives, enhancing their stay at hotels, enhancing their personal lives. So we're a global leader in the mobility space, obviously, and we've brought to market this innovative following technology. We're very much on the emerging end of that. And that's kind of my background as well. I've been in emerging hospitality technology for over 20 years, from when a little company called STSN, for you old timers out there might remember them, replacing the little plug in the side of your phone with an actual jack in the room where you can plug into Ethernet if you rented a PCM, a cable. So, very much interested in how technology can transform and improve the guest experience, as well as how you can improve the operations of your spaces to make them more effective in a very simple and seamless way. So for the hotel guest, we're trying to drive convenience, obviously, assist with any kind of mobility issues, and communicate luxury. And for the staff, we're just trying to drive efficiency, effectiveness, and lower the claims costs that a hotel might have in terms of workplace issues. But ultimately, it's really about fitting in seamlessly with what you do and technology working hand in hand with people to create a more human experience. So look forward to this panel and engaging with some discussions on how we can best do that.
Yes, and looking forward also to hearing more details about that. I think a lot of us have maybe Roombas in our home, and that's the type of robotics we're most familiar with. But certainly in the hospitality space, there's a lot more potential applications, potential use cases that can really drive value for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So next we have Kevin Sweeney, Vice President of Product within Enseo. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do?
Yes, thank you, Kristen. Like all my peers have said before me, it's great to be here talking about hospitality technology and customization, personalization. I know that's dear to all of us. We live it and breathe it every day. So I'm Kevin Sweeney. I'm Vice President of Products at Enseo. I've been at Enseo for almost a decade, and I oversee the entire product lifecycle. So Enseo is the essential technology provider for hospitality for 23 years. We started off making just equipment and set-top boxes and selling equipment. And in the last 5-10 years, we've been moved to an integrator, and we deploy the technology that we do build. This panel is timely. We've recently upgraded our trusted in-room entertainment platform called Core, and we've added a lot of personalization features for a better guest experience and to streamline tasks for hoteliers. So newer features of this platform include hoteliers can manage their content that is delivered to the guest, as in the TV UI. We can create custom channel lineups based on guest preferences, UI pages, messaging, surveys for groups, weddings, and more. This is all in addition to all the technology that Enseo has historically had. We were the first to provide Netflix in hotels with a direct agreement with Netflix. So in addition to our offering of streaming apps and also casting, we have these new personalization features. So we at Enseo strive to provide the best technology experience so that hoteliers can really focus on the guest experience and not have to be a detractor of technology of that. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Kevin. We're very happy to have you here with us today. And actually, since the topic, of course, of this panel discussion is personalization and what this really means for guests. And Kevin, I'd like to build a little bit more on that kind of point you were talking about. How are technologies, do you see, how are these being used to offer personalized experiences to guests today? Of course, you guys have, as you were talking about, your streaming platform and also some other technologies as well. Maybe you can dig in a little bit deeper there.
Sure, yeah. And I think it's kind of, we'll start a differentiation between just like customization based on preferences and then kind of personalization based on behaviors, right? So we, in the hospitality space right now, we have a lot of customization based on preferences. So, when you check in, what kind of pillow type do you want? Where do you want your, where do you want your room? What floor should it be on? But we really have a demand for personalization, maybe more based on behavior or past behaviors. So everywhere we look now, we have Amazon recommendations. Netflix tells us, hey, look, these are the things you might be interested in, or just even articles in our feed. So, in the room, we have kind of simple things. Kim Twiggs mentioned, just greeting the guest based on their name. Hi, welcome, the salutation. Maybe there's a loyalty offer that we're providing. If they are not a member, or if they are a member, you welcome them back and say thank you for being a member. But we can extend this to other things inside the room, such as, hey, we know based on our PMS connection that this guest has a preferred language. Let's automatically switch the language of the TV user interface of that so that they feel welcomed. And it's really kind of tailored to what they prefer, who they are. From my slide during the intro, we have customers who are selling personalization for groups like weddings. In one instance, we can provide a TV UI that's tailored to the wedding guests with information about the wedding schedule, maybe when the shuttle comes, maybe a small slideshow of the bride and groom based on a streaming channel or a linear channel that has all the information on it. So that we really can make that a personalization towards those guests or those parties with an opportunity for hoteliers to make a little more money. But this personalization is pretty manual and labor intensive, right? It's somebody getting information and doing that. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see probably AI combing larger data sets to see what behaviors people have and how we can offer them better personalization without the labor intensive aspect from people working this on site.
Mm-hmm. So certainly a lot of opportunities there to really make use of that data that's being provided to offer these kind of meaningful experiences to folks as well. And Adam, I'm curious. So Groove and Dog Connect. So you have kind of a little bit of a different offering. Maybe you could share some of what personalization means for you guys, maybe from more of a hardware perspective.
Yeah, so I think that one of the weaknesses in the industry is the relationship with hardware. I think, as was previously pointed out, there's so many software links that can happen that are ever evolving, and I think that that's an amazing frontier, if you will, and it's going to be expanding all the time. But when it comes to actual hardware, I think there's a huge weakness in the industry. What I mean by that is, if you study the car industry, success leaves really good marks, right? So at first it was alarm systems and amplifiers and speakers and GPSs that you would go and like TomTom or Garmin or any of that kind of stuff. Then the manufacturers got the wise idea that let's put this all in as a package. And that was great. And I fell for it as well, where you go to a dealership and you buy the $5,000-$7,000 tech package on your car. And then the first thing that you do is you hijack it all by using Apple CarPlay or Android. So I think that's what we're learning in this industry is that the ability for BYOD, so bring your own device, and for that to deliver the experience that everybody's looking for, that personalized experience, has been brought up by a lot of different experiences in the marketplace. So for example, Sonos. You can have audio playing at your house, and if somebody comes over, as long as they have the app and the Wi-Fi password, they become your new personal DJ. So when you're going into a hotel room, the devices that are there, we can't dismiss them. You still need sound and TV and all these other bits and pieces. And that relates back to what Kim was saying earlier about having an iPad or a phone as your control. That BYOD is actually the link to that world, but it needs devices that are open to that. So as the frontier sort of continues to push the envelope of technology and all of the software links, good hardware is critical. And we play a big role in that market.
Yes, and certainly we've seen and heard from many folks that kind of this integration interoperability is an enormous challenge, just with the sheer number of devices on the market, all of the different back-end platforms. So a lot of very important work that needs to be done.
Right.
And then something else that I'm curious about. So we've been hearing a lot about these new evolutions in AI and then the role of AI when it comes to kind of different types of possibly personalization, possibly just meaningful experiences as well. And Dominic, kind of your work at Piaggio, you're doing a lot of work around robotics, around kind of the different ways you can set these experiences up. Maybe you can add a little bit more flavor here.
Absolutely. So I think Kevin spoke about a little bit how there's an ability to push personalization, but I think what we're starting to see more and more is the ability to pull personalization, whether that's information that's coming directly from me that a hotel has in their CRM system that's based on my past behaviors, based on noted preferences that I need to share with them. Like there is also some privacy issues around that need to be tackled, but ultimately anticipating guest needs rather than being responsive to, okay, I have a group in house, so they want to have content that's specific to that group. I have a persona in house that's somebody who is, going to be more interested in outdoor activities, or somebody who's more interested in food and wine. So I serve up content that's relevant to them, or I prioritize channels that are more along their lines, or the room is preset to temperatures that I already have within my own personal profile. So, I think it's a really interesting, but it's also kind of fraught with peril. The idea around let's take some of this information that either the guest has shared with me, or that I've gotten from their profile, or I've gotten from past behaviors, and integrate it into their stay so that they seamlessly are being served up an experience that's much more relevant to them as a person, without kind of crossing that line of either invading personal privacy or specifically violating privacy laws. So those are interesting opportunities, but they're still definitely evolving.
Yeah, so really understanding how to get that information in a way that has maybe meaningful consent, that the guest understands what they're agreeing to, and that they're perfectly all right with it. So yes, I think there are also some other maybe angles we can dig into, really looking at how technologies are being used to offer personalized experiences to guests today. We've talked a little bit about kind of some of the things we're seeing in entertainment and with different types of automation. And we haven't heard, I believe, either from Michelle or from Robert. So maybe one of you two can weigh in.
Absolutely, I would be happy to, Kristen. So first I want to piggyback on something that Dominic just shared about those HVAC preferences. And as a company who actually manufactures thermostats that go into guest rooms, that is a request that we're seeing more and more from that personalization angle, is that, especially with the larger hotel brands. And again, we do deal with typically the full service 5-star luxury brands. They want those guest preferences of the temperature that they like the room to be, to actually be set when that guest checks in, so that room is at the absolute perfect temperature for them. It creates a wonderful experience and allows them to have that very personalized touch. And then even when Kim was speaking on the last event that you just were showcasing before our panel here, she mentioned quite a bit about the drive to actually have the guest use their own mobile device to control different aspects of the room. And technology and the things that we see at Creston are a huge part of that. Again, going back to the brands, they want the guest room controls for things like the lighting control, the HVAC, the motorized window coverings, and of course the display to be able to be integrated with their own app, so that the guest has that at their fingertips. That's a huge push for those brands, because again, people want to use their personal device and they want to curate that stay to fit what their needs are and what they want to see. We haven't touched on something that's very interesting, which is the audio aspect. And this is typically found in those higher end rooms, perhaps the suites or the penthouses, where there are in-room speakers in those spaces. And the guests to be able to easily connect to that system through Bluetooth and play their music through those speakers really can create that perfect personalized experience for them. So it's being able to tie back to the property management system, and then of course giving the guest the ability to use their own device. We're also seeing a very, very big trend in personalization, which is, many of you knew this term, work from home during the pandemic. Well, now WFH actually means work from hotel. And they are working in those spaces now. I'm sure if you're on this call, you've experienced it when you're trying to take a call and you have a hotel bed in your background. We now see that hotels need to have spaces, semi-private spaces, where these guests that are working from the hotel can go and have a really good environment with some great advanced technology to be able to easily connect to their meetings and perform their duties for work. And a lot of them combine that with leisure pretty often. So it's very exciting to see those trends.
Yes, and really some of those there's trends we've first been seeing in the smart home space, and then the home space really making its way into hospitality. And you brought up the kind of this point of having these app control interfaces, the all-in-one, really being integrated with the hotel app. Also, different, I'd say, aspects of controlling entertainment as well. And of course, kind of the last point, so having all of these just available. And then, Robert, can you maybe weigh in a little bit on Worldview's perspective? Kind of, you are operating across so many very different markets as well.
Yeah, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that hospitality is about people, right? And look at what the guests are doing, look at what your associates are doing, and then look at what's expected from you as a hospitality asset by your owners. And I think there's a technology thread that runs deep through each of those three use cases. From a guest perspective, we're living in a very mobile-first environment where if you are on an airplane, in an airport, in a transportation, if you're in an Uber to a hotel, in the lobby, in your hotel room, at a meeting, wherever, your mobile phone is very, very close to you. In fact, you're probably on your mobile phone when you're doing all of those things. So the mobile first society is here, and I think it's here to stay. And I think that a hotel as a specific venue has to be very aware and intentional in designing their space to be friendly to those mobile devices, to cooperate with the mobile devices. Things like digital key, where you can avoid the front desk. You could get in a room assignment. You can open your door. You could even use your phone as a remote control for your TV. You can use the phone as a device that can control your in-room controls, whether it's the window treatments or the HVAC unit or the lighting systems. That mobile phone is kind of the hub of technology for what we all do. And designing the infrastructure in the hotel from a network perspective, whether it's a fiber network or a wired network, whether it's Wi-Fi and making sure the Wi-Fi, which is a necessity for mobile devices, or your guest room entertainment is compliant with how guests want to operate, which is mobile first. Same thing could be said with associates of hotels, housekeepers, the general management of the hotel, the sales team at the hotel. They're also conducting business on their mobile phone, and they're operating in that same venue that has to have a great system and a great reliable technology throughout. So, I really believe that the hotel business used to be really about three things: location, experience, which is wrapped in service, this ambiguous concept of service, being responsive to people, anticipating their needs, and then lastly, value. And if you look at any hotel asset, one of those three areas is going to be emphasized: either the location of the property, the experience that the staff and the property itself are providing their guests, or a value component. And sometimes value goes out the window because the location and service is so outstanding that people are willing to pay for it. But if you look at how you operate your technology strategy and tie back to those three cornerstones, I think hotel owners and operators will be in a much better spot.
Robert, what would you say is really driving this demand towards personalization? Is it that value aspect that you were talking about?
No, I think it's really the mobile device. I think we've all gotten used to carrying these things around, and the computational power in these mobile phones is incredible. And you kind of build your habits around what your phone can do or not do, right? And so people are so accustomed to that, they expect that in every aspect of their life, especially a traveler, if you're a business traveler, or you're going someplace because you're part of a wedding party or a guest of an event like that, or on a business trip and you're a conference attendee, or you're just staying someplace that's not home. You want to feel like it's home. I think technology is the foundational element of those things. So from a personalization standpoint, I think people are building their own identity around their mobile phone, and it's driving a lot of the needs for hotel guests.
Yes, and I think a lot of folks, especially Kim brought up kind of the subject of Generation Z and kind of what they're doing, and we see with Gen Alpha even more and more. There's a whole generation that has grown up with the smartphone, and that's their primary computing device. They expect to be able to do everything with that. And as they continue to age and continue to grow up, that's going to make up the majority of the market.
Absolutely.
Kristen, if I can just add to that too, one of the big things is the fact that during the pandemic, people spent a lot of time in their homes, right? A lot of people did home improvements. And, we saw that in the residential market. And now, especially in luxury travel and luxury hotel properties, the expectation of the guest is that they're going to have, at minimum, the same experience they have in their own homes, if not better. The hotel has to be able to provide that, and personalization really is the key to allow that hotel to create that experience for the guest. And technology is one of the great ways to do that. But there are a lot of things that go around that. We hear a lot of, I'm part of the International Luxury Hotel Association. We were talking yesterday about, how hotels even have to have these very curated experiences for the guest as well, so that they can personalize their stay even more so. Again, mostly in the luxury market, but we're seeing it across the board.
Yes, certainly growing interest. And Michelle, you brought up, I think, this very interesting point, kind of where we are seeing more and more folks expect these technologies and these amenities in hotels, especially because they have them at home. And this, of course, includes single-family homes, but it also includes increasingly MDUs, multifamily properties. Adam, kind of with Groove MDU and Della Connect, you guys serve both markets. Maybe you can speak a little bit more to just the overlap that you're seeing in these.
Sure. Yeah, I actually think the lines between hospitality and MDU are blurring a lot faster than anybody anticipated. I think the duration of the stay is really the biggest difference at this point in time. And I do realize that there are some fundamental differences, but that's certainly the way that we're seeing it emerge. But there's sort of an unspoken rule and ordinance to everything. And it's the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think from a hospitality perspective, and even from an MDU perspective, brands are judged by the experiences that the customers have. And so depending on the duration of your stay, your judgment could obviously be a little bit more severe than others. But there's become this expectation that, well, if you missed my experience from a digital perspective or from an entertainment perspective or from a convenience perspective, well, what else have you missed? And that sort of gets the search on for, well, I'd like to stay at another place, or I'm sure there's better out there for me. And we've got this inventor mindset because we've all been through this very rapid technology boom that's happened over just a couple of years. We go back to 2008 when smartphones really hit the market. Look what's happened since. I mean, that's a really, really short period of time. So I know all of my friends and my family are constantly looking at technology and saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? So if your brand is missing those cool options, you're perceived as, maybe aristocratic or just old fashioned. And I think people, when they leave their homes to stay in an environment, or if they're looking to have an environment, as a rental for a short period of time, they want it to exceed where they're coming from, or at least match it. And so I think that that's another part of what's happening with technology. But the slower adoption rate, than you might otherwise think it could be, is often because I think that hoteliers and MDU, specifically rental property owners and managers, don't necessarily know how to make good decisions. And that's not a dig. It's just, how could they live this technology stack without, getting immersed in it all the time. So, I've had this belief for a long period of time that, what could owners and operators do by making good decisions that make their tenants or their customers the natural beneficiaries of their good decisions, right? So, leaderships do the right things. Management are supposed to do things right. And so if you can measure it, you can manage it. And all these systems that we're putting in have other aspects of them that can be a tremendous value, right? So as this technology stack starts to grow inside these units and suites, there's a lot better tools to manage and sort of understand what's going on and implement all of these different bits and pieces. So I think what I'm really getting at the end of the day is that one of the biggest weaknesses is that the head office makes decisions and sweeps through these technology stacks, and then the reality doesn't hit when it gets down to the market level or to the actual realities of delivery. And having people who can advocate and centers where people can actually go and learn about these technologies and how they get implemented is such a key to making some of the dreams and realities that have been expressed on this call come true. So I think that's just an important piece, because it's not necessarily a tangible, but more where do you go for wisdom coaching to actually put all of these great ideas into practice.
Yes, I think absolutely. And certainly what we've been hearing from really companies across multiple industries is that with this transformation that's underway with Industry 4.0 and the kind of growth of these tech platforms and devices being integrated in operational technologies, there is a very strong need for this internal expertise, kind of dedicated teams to actually understand this process and what goes into it, run pilot projects, and just make sure that you have a very firm grasp of what this actually means to your business, to your internal processes.
Yeah, and we've seen some pretty devastating things. I think maybe a good way to relate this is that, as a parent, if you don't hear, your kids don't hear you right the first 5 times you yell and you get a good response, all of a sudden you just become a yeller. Well, in tech, it's like that. You get a response. It's like, well, let's just do this across our entire platform. And you don't know it, but you've actually baked in a huge problem, or you've cut yourself off from an avenue of technology that was actually flourishing and blossoming. So, having acute awareness of your decisions is really critical. So while there's some amazing tech on this call, having somebody to advocate for you and show you how it's actually going to get into your portfolio and what it's going to do to you or your organization is so critical. And it's the thing that's always missed. And somebody becomes the whipping boy or girl of that decision. They're usually pardoned from that organization and they show up to do it again somewhere else. And so I think that's another very important part of this conversation.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So kind of maybe honing in a little bit on kind of the different areas where we see personalization be impactful when it comes to guest experience. Michelle, you mentioned, I think, a few different areas where Crestron is seeing some major traction, and one of them was on the smart thermostat side and these platforms as well. Can you maybe detail that a little bit further or talk about some of the other areas where you're seeing a lot of demand?
Well, it really comes down to integration to the property management system. And so that allows, the operator to really make sure that personalization from the smart thermostat side of things, of course, is successful for the guest. So really that's a matter of them, if that guest is part of a larger brand portfolio, for example, knowing exactly how they like that room to be set. The thermostat, the temperature is what we see requested most often, but that can even expand to things like, the lighting level in the room, for example. Of course, we tie into systems like Enseo, so they're providing that personalization on the display itself. And, if there is audio available, even, if they like a specific type of music or playlist, we can see that in the hotel spaces as well. So that's really where we see that tied in on the operator side. And again, that's all stored through the PMS. So it's just a matter of, our systems communicating and making sure that everything is at that perfect level.
I think Michelle raises an important point about systems being able to talk to each other. And 10, 15 years ago, there were work groups trying to solve this problem with greater or lesser success, but it was very much just kind of an esoteric exercise at that point that, we thought this was something that we wanted, but we had no idea how to get there there were a lot of proprietary systems out there, many different protocols used, many different communication styles, calling the same thing, different things in different systems. We've gotten so much better as an industry about that, which I think enables some of these things that we're talking about, where the TV is talking to the lights, is talking to the thermostat, is talking to the PMS, is talking to the mini fridge, so that you can accomplish these feats of personalization. Because, once upon a time, everybody, I think the old model of hotels is that people wanted consistency from hotel to hotel. And I think to some extent that's true in terms of quality. But I think in terms of experience, that's another area of personalization. Is I don't want to go to the hotel in Waikiki and have the same experience that I have at the hotel at the airport in Detroit. It's not, this is, I don't want to say the A word, but you see some of these temporary lodging options, and I think they appeal to people very much in terms of wanting to have a more unique and more personal experience just through the property itself.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, Dominic. That's a great point in terms of being able to work with other technologies. I think one of the risks that we face right now is the fact that we're all trying to create value for our specific business, our technology, our offering. And we live in a world of integration and convergence, and where there's proprietary things that are built that are very purpose centric, like Wi-Fi is one, right? Providing great Wi-Fi. It gets very, very risky when Wi-Fi systems become proprietary, and there's a moat around a specific technology that can't be penetrated or jumped over without some significant either investment or dollars out of your pocket or some sort of sophisticated relationship with other vendors. That gets very, very dangerous for the overall kind of where technology is going, right? Where technology is going is you want convergence, you want ease of use, you want to be able to experience something that's special and innovate quickly and change that dynamic environment kind of in real time, kind of like an Instagram post, right? And creating those unique experiences on an asset by asset basis is very, very valuable. But with that comes the need to operate in a converged world on open standards and then innovate quickly against all of those technologies. And I think that's one area that we could definitely improve on as an industry, and focus on kind of collectively. I think the innovation of convergence and being open, I think, is very, very powerful and where we should really go in the future.
Yes, I think we've been hearing this tremendous demand for these open platforms and open protocols, so really being able to make integration, I think, a much easier lift, and actually building on this full promise of personalization as well.
That's right.
I think there's huge opportunities, for Inseo and Interel and all these other players that are in the market, because they're actually purpose-built for what you are mentioning. Nest, for example, from a thermostat perspective, is not purpose-built. It's supposed to know the end user, and hotel, obviously, that's a mistake. So Crestron, obviously, could play that same role, but it's about taking a stand and really creating a product that, you can strip its identity from a customer user perspective. Obviously, you don't get your name out there, but I think if, it's about the experience and the volume and the sales and all that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily matter. But really, these devices, in order to push this envelope, need to be purpose-built to be able to have all of that interconnectivity and really be subordinate to somebody else's control is really a better way to put it.
Yes, it needs to be designed properly from the start, absolutely.
I mean, I'd add that, we do have interoperability on a lot of platforms, but it seems that the data is held by key individuals or key businesses, and there's not a lot of sharing. The technology isn't the barrier, obviously. I mean, it never is. It's kind of the agreements, and it's the relationships, and it's the allowance of, us to talk to Crestron, to talk to anybody else, to talk to these people and share data to really make these actions and make these things happen, just as everyone's saying. So it's, it's very important that we all work together, that we can work together, and people allow us to work together too.
Well, we're all probably Apple developers or Google developers at some stage with our products. I think what needs to happen is that BYOD aspect of this, where all of the things that you like and your profiles and so on and so forth are on your device. That device has a relationship with the infrastructure. What's known about that device and what your preferences are can be kept separate, because it's actually with your device and not necessarily with the facility. So I think that there's a way through. It's just a matter of lobbying these groups, because no one is going to unravel what those two massive organizations have put together. And our phones are essentially our lives, is what was brought up before. But I think that that's the secret to all of this, is that that relationship will ultimately separate the market from a data and privacy perspective, but also that BYOD unique experience that's delivered by the association with your device.
Mm-hmm. I think absolutely. So we've talked, I think, a lot about personalization, a lot about the guest experience. So I'm curious, what impact do we see maybe some of these technology and solutions having on hotel operations? Dominic, I know your technology solutions at Piaggio, you have, I'd say, a lot of emphasis on the impact to operations. Maybe you can describe some of what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, from an operations perspective, I think that's where we have the bigger impact, at least from an ROI perspective. And ROI is a completely separate but important part of this conversation. But, if you can, knowing what problems hotels are having right now, and I think the biggest problem we hear as we travel to almost every conference is keeping and maintaining and hiring staff. So if you can make your staff more effective, if you can make their jobs easier, if there's things that you do from a technology perspective that actually drives, efficiency and effectiveness with your team, one, that kind of alleviates a little bit of that problem, but two, it maybe allows you to increase compensation to the point where you don't have the turnover issues, and also implementing technology that kind of fills some of those gaps. Makes those roles a little less, I won't say less critical, but a little bit more effective. So it's really important when you're looking at technology that there does need to be some type of business justification for it, because there are always going to be people in the industry who do cool things because they're cool. But at the end of the day, that's not really scalable, and it doesn't make sense for us as an industry as a whole.
That's right.
Absolutely. And I think, Michelle, you might have a hard stop pretty soon. So if you have maybe a last word you'd like to get in.
I'm actually okay, but I want to jump in on what Dominic said, because I think, that efficiency piece of staffing, it also solves a big problem for the hotel industry as a whole, because staffing is a huge challenge right now. So just to echo what Dominic said on that, but then to take a little bit of a different approach as well, these technologies to personalize the guest experience can also help with sustainability and energy efficiency as well. So doing things like guest presence detection, for example, yes, when that guest is in the room, that personalization of the technology can be perfectly set to what they want with temperature, lighting, their TV viewing, and everything else that they may touch in that room. But when the guest is not in that space, having those technology return to an eco mode or a state where they can conserve energy is a huge benefit to the overall operations of the hotel. So it all ties together very nicely for the hotelier, and a lot of benefits can be found.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in there too, if I can. I think you're absolutely spot on right. Our best customer outcomes are with customers who have an asset management mindset and that look at technology as an asset as opposed to just an operating expense. And the asset then is there to generate value, whether it's always to generate profit. And then part of profit, of course, is top line revenue and operating expense. I think the technology is deployed right, can help reduce or control, or maybe even just get better visibility into what's happening to generate operating expenses, whether it's a sustainability measure like energy or a human resource thing, trying to measure what people are doing, or if it's even a life safety issue, keeping people safe. I think all those things are very important, but the core of that is the asset. And if someone comes to you as an integrator, which was what we are, we integrate a lot of different technologies, and has a conversation about just operating expense, how cheap can you give me this stuff? It's not going to be a great customer outcome. They've got to come at this with an asset mindset that says, why should I do business with you? It's got to be for something that's valuable to me long term. And I want to really focus on the equation of what am I going to buy from you and sign up for you to support that is an asset. And that's very, very important in kind of the whole business that we do. And I hope the other panelists would agree with that.
Yeah, I would definitely. I think the question in the industry should be, what's the total cost of ownership, right? And we've been talking about thermostats, and may as well keep with it, but not a lot of groups are looking at the centralized heating or cooling of these environments. If you knew what the actual demand was, you would be able to turn down some of these systems, which ultimately, is a base load drain on the entire, cost of running these buildings. And so I think, sometimes they're penny smart, pound foolish, just because they're not sure of how this all goes together. But if you're looking at this as, I think that you mentioned it before, is that what good decisions can I make that the operators get the benefit of and the customers become the natural beneficiaries? A lot of opportunity emerges. And if, you look at the technology as a cost and not the asset that Robert is mentioning, I think that really turns a lot of people off before they've really had a good chance to judge what's going on and truly understand it.
Right.
Yeah, so really leveraging, I think, the importance of this technology and kind of making sure that it matters. So I know we're about out of time. We're actually a little bit over. We do have some questions in from the audience that I'd like to make sure we're able to at least address a little bit. So we had this interesting question in around the subject of managed Wi-Fi, which I know is an area where a lot of you guys work in. So we see managed Wi-Fi really taking off in the MDU space, so residents can stay connected to their personal network wherever they are on the property. How is this working in hospitality? Is there one guest network, or do we see individual slices for guests where they have maybe their own unique password that they're signing in with?
It's a great question. I can take part of that because we do manage Wi-Fi a lot. The multifamily question is an interesting one because there are some exciting things happening in that space, and I think it adds true value from a kind of a digital community, digital enablement standpoint for an apartment community owner. And I think that the way you manage a Wi-Fi solution on a resident by resident or household by household or community by community basis, there's a lot of complexity that goes behind that and perfecting that experience. So there is a future, a big future for multifamily and managed Wi-Fi, or should I say, for managed Wi-Fi in multifamily. I'm not sure I've seen it, the ball be hit out of the park yet, but there are some companies that are very, very close. So it's very, very exciting. In the hotel space, managed Wi-Fi has been a thing for a long time. The history of Wi-Fi in hotels is kind of rocky. I think that we've seen some pretty poor deployments of Wi-Fi in hotels, and we've seen some excellent deployments of Wi-Fi in hotels. It's typically tied to the guest experience. So in an ideal world, you'd use something like Passpoint to authenticate a guest tied to their user or their guest profile, their loyalty profile, and it would be a seamless experience that whenever you walked into a hotel that's owned by a certain owner or under a certain flag or brand, you just had this great experience. That stuff is evolving quickly. And again, that's an exciting area that we're smack in the middle of. So I think there's a huge future for managed Wi-Fi throughout the built environment, and we're excited to be part of it.
Yeah, so certainly I think an area where a lot of companies are seeing a lot of interest and a lot of traction, kind of across hospitality, across multifamily housing, and really across any industry where we have also consumers, where we have different devices as well that need this internet connection. So we also have another question in from the audience. With people using smart speakers in the home, do you think voice control will enter the hotel room as well? I do remember there'd been a number of different companies experimenting with this. I'm not kind of sure where the market is right now.
To that, we do have several hotel properties that have voice technology deployed. And with that, it's typically going to be Alexa for hospitality, which is designed for the hospitality space. It can tie to the property management system and doesn't tie directly to any consumer information. So that's what we've seen for voice technology.
So leveraging some of these kind of different user interfaces and making sure people can kind of connect the way that they're looking to connect. Okay. And then there's another question from me, and then this is to Kevin. So Kevin, we've talked a little bit and we've brushed up a little bit on this topic of privacy and data security. How do you feel that hotels should really be approaching this topic? What should they be looking out for? What should they be doing?
I mean, this is a loaded topic, with the recent events the last couple of weeks. But honestly, how should hotel approach it? With open arms, right? I mean, we've seen that consumer surveys call for increased personalization, and there are no laws that prohibit gathering data, right? There's more frameworks that regulate how you use it or how you store it, or do you really need it? So with that, Enseo has spent a lot of time on these topics, responding to RFPs, being in the middle of these cyber discussions with our very large customers. And you just need to use great care and diligence and provide transparency to the consumer. So in a hotel room itself, there is more, you have no diminished expectation of privacy, right? If you're in the lobby, if you're in a coffee shop, you're in a public setting. But in your hotel room, it's like being in your own bedroom. So we are seeing kind of conversations around what does that actually mean and what consumer protections do we have in hotel rooms. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we all said, hey, we don't process PII, but that's not really true. Like, all of us are processors of PII in some way, whether that be, the temperature setting that you like, whether the IoT system knows that you're in a room or not, whether it be what guests are watching. This is all PII. The device ID that you've connected to the Wi-Fi. I mean, this is all stuff that you can't just make public, and you have to have policies for. So, ensure that as a hotelier, ensure that your business is doing good to process this data and that you have a real use. Understand your local regulations. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you can't use it or you can't gather it, but make sure that that you're using it correctly. Maybe you can't combine it. Maybe you can't sell it. Maybe you can't market personalization data, but you need to make sure that you're using it correctly and you're informing the guests. And since this is a vendor panel, I'll say make sure that you're working with a vendor who understands privacy and data as well. Make sure that they're up to date with their practices, that they're consistent with your practices, and that they follow them. I mean, even if you can shift liability to like any of us on this call, it's still going to be a terrible business disaster for you. Even regardless of the legal liability. I mean, we plan our development around policies, and the last thing I would say is make sure that you choose a vendor before you contract them and verify that they have adequate cyber insurance. Everybody on here, I have to believe, based on the size of your company, pays a ton of money to cyber insurance every year. And you need to, as a hotelier, make sure that you check up on that, because it is important and it's only becoming more important.
Yes, nobody wants a data breach, and nobody wants a ransomware attack across their critical infrastructure.
But as the cyber insurance companies see it, it's inevitable, and you need to be prepared.
Yes, it's the realities of the world we live in. Okay, I think we have just a little bit of time left. So I'd like to maybe bring up kind of this last topic. So we've talked a lot about personalization, about the guest experience, about kind of operational technologies. So my question, so how should hotels really do personalization? How do they do it right? What specifically is required? And maybe Adam, this time you can kick us off. Just kind of closing thoughts from everyone.
Sorry, what is required for personalization?
Yes. What is required to do this correctly?
I think it's about having a clear vision of what they believe personalization is, right? The demographic that's going to be there obviously will dictate that. But once that happens, it's really creating the structure that's going to support what it is that you're looking to do. So not only today, but into tomorrow. And I mentioned it before, you buy all this technology and then you use Apple CarPlay. It's about really making sure that your dollar is going to the right place. And that's a big part of getting purpose-built product and really systems designed to give you the kinds of sort of outcomes that you're looking for, right? So actually a good analogy to all this, that a car window, I like to use the auto analogies, but it used to be that they were wind up, then it became automatic, and then it was with one click, one of the windows goes up, and now it's with a click, all of the windows go up. What happened was the relationship to that technology changed, and if you have the right infrastructure, you'll be able to sort of deliver on this stuff as these things emerge. So that would be my statement.
Yeah, just software update.
I just to add to that, that's great, Adam. I think that the foundation, if you're talking about utilizing technology to further personalization, I think an ironclad network, highly reliable, highly functional, and very intentional in its design and operation is mission critical. And if you don't have a great network, you're going to have some bumps in the road related to utilizing technology to personalize things, the experience.
I actually wanted to comment on that earlier. I think that we failed to see the network as the monetization strategy is a huge misstep in the industry. And if you don't own the network, you don't own your opportunity. So unless you can have that robust piece of technology in there, you're really at a disadvantage to get going.
If I may, just you'd asked how to do personalization right. And one thing that I would say about that is that personalization done right depends on who you are as a hotel and depends on who you are trying to communicate as a brand. So yes, it has to be about the customer at the end of the day, but if you don't know what your message is to that customer, it doesn't matter that you're making it personally relevant to them if it's not relevant to you and communicating your value as a hotel or as a property. So, you have to definitely start from your identity and then figure out how to connect that identity to the guests so that it actually makes not just what you're doing relevant to the guest, but it makes you as a hotel relevant to the guest.
And then I guess Michelle or Kevin, whichever one of you wants to hop in.
I'll hop in. I think, just as my final thought on that, it really, again, not to repeat myself, but it comes down to the ability to integrate with the different systems that are being used on the property. Because if you truly want to offer personalization, it has to extend, to these different systems that the customer is going to interact with. So I think just making sure you're working with a reliable company that has the ability to integrate and communicate is going to create the best well-rounded experience, because I think that personalization, it's very important in the guest room, but like I mentioned earlier, it's important in all of the spaces of the hotel, those public spaces. They have a pool, areas for them to be able to work efficiently. It's a holistic approach.
Yeah. And as Dominic said, it's like hoteliers need to decide, and hotels need to decide what their plan is, what they're looking to do. The different types of hotels, the different markets. Where are they going with this? Right. I mean, right now they're collecting some data. They can collect more data about how people are behaving in hotels, and then how do they use that going forward to personalize that experience for that traveler? I mean, is it am I with my family? Am I traveling for work? I'm the same person, but my experience is different based on where I'm going and why I'm going. So I think hotels need to expand that, but have a good and solid plan and vision of where they're going with personalization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really understanding kind of what is the vision and what they should be doing. Yes, thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us for this discussion. I think this was certainly a great amount of ground and some excellent fruitful thought.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, and thanks to the audience as well for joining us. We're very happy to have you all here. As a reminder, our next event is going to be coming up on November 30th, looking at the topic of investment and expansion in smart spaces. And you can also go back and listen again to past events that we've held throughout this year. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to our team. We have their contact information here. And again, thank you all.